Hey, everybody. Hope you're having a happy quarantine. Welcome to a fantabulous episode of the Creative Differences podcast. I'm Dallas, and I apologize in advance if you hear my nephew dropkick my door and scream at me.
I'm Gabby, and I never have anything clever to say for this bit.
And I'm Demi in Dallas. I'm somewhat concerned for your safety.
Me too.
Welcome.
Me too.
Welcome to part 2 of our quarantine watch for movies. We hope you guys have been enjoying these quarantine watch episodes and that maybe you guys have checked out some of the stuff that we've talked about. Today, we're going to pick another 5 movies that we've been watching over the course of this quarantine, and we're going to tell you guys all about them and our reactions to them. Dallas, you want to start us off?
Yes. So, in case you didn't know, I start all of mine with some random thing I want to say about it, and then I see if the girls can guess it. We'll find out.
I did pretty good on the last
Yeah,
TV
you were on
episode.
fire for the TV episode.
You were.
Movies
Heads
might
up.
be a little bit more difficult.
Yes, the movies are completely random. Just whatever happens to be playing when I decide to watch TV. Not really, because it's streaming, so it's whatever I pick, but it's all random stuff. This one might be kind of easy. Ocean's 11 through a Southern lens with a possibly fictional screenwriter.
Logan Lucky?
Logan Lucky. Good job, Gabby.
I've never seen that one.
It's so good. Oh my God.
So, Logan Lucky, directed by Steven Soderbergh, or Soderbergh, however you say that.
Soderbergh, I believe.
Yes. Which, he made Ocean's 11 through 13, Sex, Lies, and Videotape, The Girlfriend Experience. He's made a lot of stuff.
He also made Magic Mike.
He did make Magic
The first
Mike.
one.
Yes, the first one, not the second. The movie was allegedly written by Rebecca Blunt, but probably written by Jules Asner, Steven Soderbergh's wife. Have you guys heard about that?
No.
No.
Okay, so Rebecca Blunt is listed as a screenwriter for Logan Lucky, but she might not exist. This is the Wikipedia. There has been media speculation regarding the identity of the film's screenwriter, Rebecca Blunt. The film's production notes state that she is a native of Logan, West Virginia, who now lives in New York City, and that she is a first-time screenwriter. No one other than Soderbergh and Adam Driver have personally vouched for her existence. Some people involved with the film have exchanged emails with a person they believe to be her and think that she lives in the UK. Sources speculated that Rebecca Blunt was actually a pseudonym for Soderbergh's wife or Soderbergh himself. According to some website, Soderbergh's wife was the sole screenwriter and chose to use a pseudonym because she did not want the perception of the film to be that Soderbergh was directing his wife's script. Who knows who wrote this movie? Maybe Soderbergh, maybe his wife, maybe a ghost. It stars Channing Tatum, Adam Driver, Riley Keough, Daniel Craig, a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
It's funny, the trailer said introducing Daniel Craig when the movie came out.
Yeah.
Because he's playing a Southerner. And this movie is kind of like a little bit responsible for my interest in Knives Out, because when I saw the Knives Out trailer, I was like, oh my God, Daniel Craig is being Southern again. And I was so happy for that. But yeah, summary from IMDb. 2 brothers attempt to pull off a heist during a NASCAR race in North Carolina. Very straightforward. The movie is very silly. It's very Southern. Daniel Craig is an absolute treasure anytime he decides to use a Southern accent. It's a solid movie. I don't have a whole lot to say about it, but I feel like Gabby probably likes it even more than I do.
Oh, I love this movie. I love it so much.
Yeah, but it's dope. It's really funny. It was one of those that when it came out, I was like, maybe I'll watch it, maybe I won't, and I never got around to it. And then every time I asked Kayla, hey, you want to watch Logan Lucky? She was like, no. And then eventually she said yes. So we watched Logan Lucky. It's pretty funny. It's very Southern. The screenwriter might be a figment of someone's imagination. That's Logan Lucky.
It's so good. And it's
Yes.
so clever. Like it's just a good movie.
I have a question for you guys.
Yes.
I don't know if it was on mic or not, but recently I was talking about a movie that Hilary Swank was in. And then you guys were like, she's not in that movie. And I was like, what movie was I thinking of? I was thinking of this movie. She like pops in and she's like a weird cop.
She's like the FBI investigator, right?
Yeah.
That's just like
who's like trying to find them.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a dope. If you like heist movies and silliness, I'd recommend it.
So good. Great. I didn't think that I could be surprised by a heist movie anymore. And that one, I was like, wow. I like it.
Wow.
Wow.
Gabby, it's your
Gabby,
turn.
it's your turn.
It's my turn. Okay, so recently Netflix put out 2005's Pride and Prejudice, and that is one of my favorite movies of all time. So I figured I'd tell our audience that it's on Netflix. And yes, I did watch it
That
last
sounds
night.
like you. We did a fan cast for that, right?
We did a fan cast for Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah, so check that out if you like Pride and Prejudice, like Abby
Yeah.
does.
I love it so much. I really like this version. It's so good. First of all, it's beautiful. It's like beautifully shot. There's some definite cinematography that happened. It makes the English countryside look just like beautiful. And Keira Knightley does an amazing job. Matthew McFadyen does an awesome job. And I think he just got nominated for an Emmy for Succession. And it's just nice to see him almost 15 years ago just being like cool Mr. Darcy. The music's also incredibly beautiful. And the cast is stacked actually, especially now when you look back on it. It's stacked AF. So it stars Keira Knightley, Matthew McFadyen, Rosamund Pike, Jenna Malone, Carey Mulligan, Tallulah Riley, Donald Sutherland, Brenda Blythe. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Judi Dench is in this movie. Tom Hollander. There's a lot of people that are like really big, especially like now, that were in this movie, and it was like before they were famous. And some of them, it was like their first movie. I think it was like Carey Mulligan's first movie.
Is Carey Mulligan in Promising Young Woman?
Yes, I believe. Yes.
Did that movie ever come out? Or was that like
I
a
don't know.
quarantine pushback?
I have no idea, but I really wanted to see that movie. So if it's out, I gotta check it out. That's gonna be something we have to look up. Anyway, it's really great. It's shot really well. Great performances. The scene where Elizabeth rejects Mr. Darcy's offer is like peak amazingness. And just really love this movie, man. So yeah, go watch Pride and Prejudice 2005. It's like trending on Netflix right now.
Good to know.
All right, guys, I guess that means it's my turn. I subjected myself to watching The Kissing Booth 2 on Netflix.
Interesting choice.
In the sequel to 2018's The Kissing Booth, high school senior Elle juggles a long distance relationship with her dreamy boyfriend Noah, college applications, and a new friendship with a handsome classmate that could change everything. It's directed by Vince, I believe his last name is pronounced Marcello, starring Joey King, Joel Courtney, Jacob Elordi, Taylor Zakar Perez, Maisie Richardson Sellers, Megan Young, and featuring Molly Ringwald. I just want to say this. I only watched the first movie because Maisie Richardson Sellers got cast in the second one. So
that sounds like
so
you.
Sorry.
And the first one, I remember watching and being like, this is absolutely ridiculous. No teenager acts like this or speaks like this or would be able to get away with some of this stuff. The second one is at least better than that one.
Oh, okay.
It's still somewhat ridiculous at times, but it's ridiculous in an amusing way.
All right.
Like one of the plot points in the movie is that Elle signs up for like a freestyle DDR competition. Are those real? I don't know. Is it ridiculous? Yes, but at least it's not as ridiculous as teenagers going to the beach and just openly drinking.
Question. What is DDR?
Dance Dance Revolution?
Oh, those were a thing, but like
Freestyle
20 years
competition?
ago. Oh,
Wait, but where the
freestyle.
No, it's a freestyle competition where you create your own choreography. I guess you just have to do the same footwork. I guess everybody
Okay.
has to do the
What?
same footwork. I don't know if they I don't understand.
Oh, then no. I don't
I
know
don't
what
know
that
if
is.
like I don't know if it's like everybody has to have the same like footwork, like you have to land on the right pad at the right time, like everybody has the same pattern. It's just that you can you can create your own choreography that just has to land on that step at the right time. Or if
Question
it's
to
you
me.
yes.
Does this movie take place in like the very early 2000s?
No, it takes place now.
Why are people still putting DDR in their movie?
Right?
I don't know.
This
Well,
is Scott
thing is-
Pilgrim.
the thing is, in the first movie, it's like it's how her and her best friend are like, it's one of their bonding things. They play DDR together at an arcade, which is fine. But then you
Okay.
bring in a DDR competition, which is ridiculous, but at least it's amusingly ridiculous.
All right, why not?
Also, while watching this movie, I felt secondhand embarrassment far too often.
That makes sense.
I think that's why I couldn't watch the first one.
This movie is 2 hours and 12 minutes, and it doesn't need to be.
2 hours and 12 minutes?
That's too
Yes.
long.
The Kissing Booth 2 is 2 hours and 12 minutes.
No, absolutely not.
How?
No.
What were they doing for
Why?
2 hours and 12 minutes?
Yeah, bro. I watched it and I can't tell you.
To
my
me,
God.
why did
That's
you
not
watch
true.
the whole thing?
I watched it for Maisie Richardson Sellers. I said why I watched it.
I know. I'm just so sorry.
But anyway, Taylor Zakar Perez is extremely charming in this movie as Marco, and he is indeed a snack, as they say in the movie, in a very long secondhand embarrassment scene. Noah Flynn might be too little of a challenge for Jacob Elordi after being on Euphoria. Rumor has it that like he really doesn't want to be in these movies anymore, and like after being in Euphoria, I can understand why he wouldn't. I saw Euphoria before I saw either of these movies, and like Jacob Elordi is currently playing the greatest supervillain. I'm sorry, he's playing the greatest villain to be on TV in a very long time on Euphoria. So,
Oh God.
have you seen Euphoria?
No.
That man is a sociopath.
Or he's just like, never mind. No, I can't say that. We're gonna
No,
alienate some of our audience members.
that man is a
I mean,
sociopath
if we
who
haven't by now.
benefits from rich white privilege. He is the embodiment of rich white teenage boy privilege. He's a villain. He literally has assaulted people on that show and does not go to jail for it. Like,
Yep.
and when I mean assaulted somebody, like multiple broken bones, bruises all over the dude's body, like it's a bunch of stuff, okay? The boy's a sociopath. Like I said, I think him playing Noah in these movies, I don't think it's a challenge for him anymore. I think he's just breezing through it. Chloe Winthrop, played by Maisie Richardson Sellers, who, as I said, was the reason I was watching this movie, is the best character in the movie. And I'd be far more interested in watching a spin-off of her character and Jacob Elordi's character running around Harvard and Boston and just running stuff. Like, that sounds so much fun. But yeah, the movie's like an average rom-com. I'm still going to sit through The Kissing Booth 3 when it comes out next year for Maisie. And because I'm a completionist. So yeah, that's the Kissing Booth 2.
Well, you said you're going to watch the third one?
I am.
Just to do it?
Just I gotta finish it, and I just gotta see what happens with Maisie's character, because her character was awesome. All right, Dallas, what's the next movie on your list?
Yes. It's going to get pretty obscure from this point on. This one is an animated superhero movie with James Woods playing a character crazier than he is.
Hercules?
No, he's a superhero movie.
I did say superhero movie.
Oh.
I mean, I guess Hercules is a superhero, but like I wouldn't.
Yeah, Zero to Hero. There's a whole song about it.
Yeah.
I don't know then.
You're not going to guess it. This movie is Justice League Crisis on Two Earths.
Yeah, I was definitely not gonna guess that.
Yeah, nobody's going to guess that because it's a DC animated movie. And a lot of people don't know about this. This one, it was based on an abandoned DC animated movie concept called Justice League Worlds Collide. And it was supposed to be the bridge between the Justice League show and Justice League Unlimited, which is pretty cool because both of those shows are super dope. And this one kind of ends with the forming of the big giant Justice League. Yeah, it's directed by Lauren Montgomery and Sam Liu. Lauren directed Justice League Doom, Green Lantern First Flight, Superman, Batman Apocalypse. She also worked as a producer and storyboard artist on Avatar and The Legend of Korra. Sam Liu directed Batman the Killing Joke, Wonder Woman Bloodlines, and Justice League versus the Fatal Five. So if you're into DC animated movies, you know who they are. If not, you don't. This movie was written by Dwayne McDuffie, the award-winning comic writer who created Static Shock. He created the character, he created the comics, he created the show. He founded Milestone Media, which I told you guys about yesterday, coincidentally enough, as a means to get Black people in comic books. These movies always have like a somewhat random voice cast because Warner Brothers Animation would just like grab actors and be like, hey, you want to play a superhero? And they'd be like, yeah, why not? So this one has William Baldwin, Mark Harmon from, I think, NCIS.
Hey, he was in Freaky Friday.
Yes, that dude.
Oh, that guy.
Chris Noth, don't know who that is. And Gina Torres.
Oh.
Right?
Gina Torres.
Oh,
yeah, I
wait.
didn't expect her to be in it.
Yeah.
Oh, did you think I said the other Gina?
Yeah. I don't know. I was like,
He went,
I know
"Oh.
this Gina.
Oh, yeah. No,
Yeah.
not
Not that Gina.
not niggas give me heebie-jeebies.
God.
That's her name now. Anyway, plot summary. a good version of Lex Luthor from a parallel Earth comes to the Justice League's dimension for help to fight their evil counterparts. Basically, in this story, the antagonists are from another universe, and they're like an evil Justice League called the Crime Syndicate. And they have like Ultraman is like mob boss Superman, and then Superwoman is like Wonder Woman, but an evil Dom kind of lady. Wonder Woman's already kind of a Dom, but it's like this is like if she was evil and maybe black because she kind of looks like Gina Torres. Owlman is like Batman if he was James Woods, but he's also more calm than James Woods because he's a nihilist who believes nothing matters. And Slade from Teen Titans is the president because why not?
All right.
But yeah, it was very interesting to see all the different versions of all these characters. Like the alternate version of Black Lightning is named Black Power, which I think is amazing. Like I think he should be the regular character. We should just have a character named Black Power that I can watch on TV. The alternate version of Jimmy Olsen is a superhero. His name is Mr. Action, which sounds like a porn name, so I probably wouldn't have stuck with that one. But whatever. Jimmy Olsen is Mr. Action. But yeah, it's a fun movie. All of these like DC animated movies are really fun for me because they do things that I guess live action kind of sticks to their own kind of established. We want to be dark and gritty until we don't. Then we want to be kind of fun, but we want to do what we think will make money. The animated ones are like, hey, you like comic books? We do too. We're going to put that stuff on screen and you're going to enjoy it. But yeah, Gina Torres was great as evil dominatrix Wonder Woman. And I recommend you watch it just for her, if for no other reason. So yeah, if you like superhero movies, check out Justice League Crisis on 2 Earths. I yield my time. Gabby, you're next.
I'm next. Okay, so I was browsing Amazon, and anytime I browse Amazon, they show you commercials for like movies or TV shows that they want you to see that are on their streaming platform. And I always get commercials for Troop Zero, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, let's watch it finally. Troop Zero is a movie about a little girl that's obsessed with making contact with aliens, and she has the opportunity to compete so that her voice and the voice of her friends are on the golden record that went on the Voyager like spaceship or like the boiler. It wasn't a satellite because it doesn't really go around. What were those called? I guess it was like the Voyager mission. Did you guys learn about that in school?
I forgot everything I
Probably.
learned about space in school.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I was
Basically.
like, to me?
I said basically I've forgotten everything what like Dallas said.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you were gonna say more. I was a huge space nerd, so I like remembered everything. I was like, oh my god. So she has a chance to get her voice on the golden record that's gonna go on the Voyager spaceship, which means the aliens are gonna hear her voice. And so what she does is she recruits like local weird neighbor, or not weird, because she's kind of a misfit, so she kind of rounds up all the other misfit kids in the neighborhood and it has them join this, like, it's basically the Girl Scouts, but they're called the Birdie Scouts, so that they can qualify and compete to be on the golden record. It stars McKenna Grace, Viola Davis, Jim Gaffigan, Allison Janney. It's a really great cast. And it's really heartwarming, silly, and just really sweet. I like it because it's got a really great adult cast and a really great smaller children ensemble cast. And it's just like a good, sweet time. And the kids put on a performance that's like the contest, and they do it. Well, I don't want to ruin it, but like you get to see these like misfit kind of awkward and strange children put on a show at the end, and it's like amazing.
That sounds adorable.
It's so cute. It's so sweet, and it like makes you feel in the heart. It's good. It's a good movie.
Yeah, I've seen the trailer or like promotion for that movie like at least once every other week.
Yeah, it's like promoted all the time.
The Fire Stick is not playing about promoting that movie.
And which is funny because I thought it came out recently, and no, it came out February of 2019. So, like, they're just never.
And they still promoting it like that?
Yes, right.
Amazon, calm down. Oh my God.
Right?
Y'all
It
have
was
other
so
movies.
good. Right? Yes. But I'm glad they promote it that much because they wore me down, and I'm glad I watched it. It was very sweet. And Viola Davis is like the den mother, or I don't know what the proper term is, but basically she's the den mother, and she calls them booze. She's like, my booze. And I'm just like, oh. And they start calling each other boo. And it's so sweet. Oh, just babies, just cute little kids being adorable. And it takes place obviously because the Voyager mission was in the late 70s. It takes place in the late 70s, so this like the the costumes are like great.
Dope.
I guess it's my turn again.
It is your turn again.
See,
Cool. The second movie on my list is Seven Samurai, which is
Wow.
a
whoa.
1954 movie directed by Akira Kurosawa. A poor village under attack by bandits recruits 7 samurais to help them defend themselves. I'm hoping I don't get any of these men's names wrong. I'm so sorry.
Good luck with that.
But the movie stars Toshiro Mifune, Takashi Shimura, Isao Kimura, Minoru Chiaki, Seiji Miyaguchi, Daisuke Kaito, and Yoshio Inaba. I hope I got those right. I kind of just tried to do it phonetically and hope that they're correct. But they were all fantastic in this movie. This movie is definitely a classic for good reason. Phenomenal reason, as a matter of fact. The movie is nearly 4 hours long, but it is totally worth it because it's probably best that it's that long. It allows every samurai in the movie to get a proper arc, and it gives you time to really understand all of them. And it also gives time for like the setup, instead of like rushing through this setup and then rushing to get your ensemble together and then rushing to get the final act done. You really just get to sit with these characters as they go through all of these things, because the first like hour or so, at least the first half hour at the very least, is these farmers get attacked by these raiders basically, who are like, we're going to come back and we're going to take all your food. And so you get to watch as they go to a different town, a different city, and try and find these samurai, and you get to watch the process of them going up to different samurai and trying to get them. And then you get the process of them meeting one samurai who's willing to help them, and then the process of that samurai finding the other 6 samurai to help him, and then them going to the village, and you get the process of them training the normal citizens of this village how to fight, and then you get the battle sequences later on, and like none of it feel like, obviously it's 4 hours, so none of it feels rushed. Like,
No, they weren't rushing anything.
yeah, they weren't rushing, but it's paced perfectly. So
Okay.
like, yeah, it's a long movie, but it doesn't feel slow and it doesn't feel like it's too fast. Like, no, this is perfectly paced. And because it's perfectly paced, yeah, it's got to be 4 hours
Okay.
instead of just rushing through like all of these things that we usually see in movies like this. It's like, no, we're going to take our time and we're going to show you these processes and you're going to understand these characters and the decisions that they make. And there's a lot of characters, so you kind of want that. It's a wonderful and very simple story. It's a story that we all know, whether you know that you know it or not. It's got some really engaging characters. I love Kikuchiyo. He is my favorite of the samurai.
Which one is he again?
He's the really hot-headed, temperamental one. He's also really funny.
Okay.
He's the one who says he's a samurai, but he's not a samurai.
Yeah.
So he kind of has to like prove himself throughout the entirety. They make a lot of jokes about him throughout the movie. I really like him. I don't know. Something about him. Like, I'm like, you're like the hot-headed one and like you're kind of like annoying sometimes, but I really like that about you. I don't know. I think it's just like he has like an underdog feel to him. And you really root for him to like really prove himself and be better.
Nice.
I have a question.
What is your
Yes.
question?
Is this the movie that basically influenced every Western
Yes,
ever?
it's basically influenced everything you've ever seen in life.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was about to say, even if you've never seen it, you know its influences. It's a very well told story, which is why it's so often remade, reworked, or reimagined. So, like, The Magnificent Seven is just the Western remake of Seven Samurai.
Yeah.
Okay.
Episode 4 of The Mandalorian is the most recent one that comes to mind, the one that Bryce Dallas Howard directed, where the Mandalorian and Cara Dune go to that small village and they get attacked by that ATST. I think it's an
Yes.
ATST. Yeah, that's totally based on Seven Samurai. Like it's just a reimagining of that. It's got influences like on Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, and The Matrix Revolution's large scale battle sequences. It was the film that's reputed like it was the start of using rain to set the tone for fight scenes, which was largely inspired by this film. And it's largely reputed for making the assembling the team trope popular. So, like any movie you watch where, like, oh, we got to get a team together, Seven Samurai is probably the one that made it popular.
Okay.
Also, A Bug's Life is Seven Samurai with bugs.
That's a good point.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Like that's why Hopper comes back and he says they attack, and then they say we're going to come back later, and then in the time that they're gone, they go try to recruit a team. Instead of samurai, it's bugs from the circus. It's the same story.
Yeah, it's literally Seven Samurai. Like a lot of things that you have watched in Western culture are probably inspired by Kurosawa movies, which is why I've started watching. Because I'm such a huge Star Wars fan and because I know that George Lucas was heavily inspired by Kurosawa's work, I've started watching his work. So Seven Samurai was where I started because that's the one that I think most people know. I really want to watch some other ones. And I watched this one on HBO Max. HBO Max has quite a number of his films. So that works out in my favor. I think the next one that I want to watch is
Rashomon?
Rashomon is on my list, but it's not the next one that I'm planning to watch. Yojimbo is the next one I'm planning on watching.
Ah, I got you.
That one's not nearly as long because it's only an hour and 15 minutes.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, so I'm starting to watch his movies. Seven Samurai, fantastic. And the thing is about it, I took breaks in the midst of watching it. I definitely paused it occasionally to get up and like go do something. I would still highly recommend watching it. It's really good. And it's really cool watching like old movies that show you like where like we started doing certain things or how we started making certain tropes or certain visuals very popular. Either that or I could just be a film nerd. That's fine.
I mean, it's both. You are definitely a film nerd.
All right. Dallas, what's your next movie?
Next one is a sequel that suffers from the lack of Rosario Dawson, but makes up for it by adding Stanley Tucci.
I should know this.
You do know this.
One more time?
A sequel that suffers from the lack of Rosario Dawson, but makes up for it by adding Stanley Tucci.
I don't know why I should know this.
Gabby, you have any guesses?
Is it Percy Jackson's
It is.
Monsters? Oh
Yes.
my god.
Oh, yeah.
Percy Jackson, Sea of
Is
Monsters.
Stanley Tucci in Sea of Monsters? I haven't watched that one in a while.
He plays Dionysus.
That's right, he does, and I thought that was perfect.
It's so great. You guys might remember we did an episode on the first Percy Jackson movie. So then after that, Kayla was like, well, let's watch the second one. So we did. This one is directed by Thor Freudenthal, which, like, what a name that is. He also directed Hotel for Dogs and Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Aww.
Yeah, I haven't seen those, but I've heard good things. It was written by Mark Guggenheim, who I'm sure is a fine man. He's one of the creators of Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow, and he wrote Green Lantern.
There's a pattern there, guys. A pattern.
Where was I? Yeah, it stars Logan Lerman, Brandon T. Jackson, Alexandra Daddario, Jake Abel, a bunch of other people. IMDb summary. In order to restore their dying safe haven, the son of Poseidon and his friends embark on a quest to the Sea of Monsters to find the mythical Golden Fleece, all the while trying to stop an ancient evil from rising. Typical of that kind of movie. I think I was watching this around the same time that I watched Hunters. So, like, Logan Lerman was a really big part of my viewing habits for that week. But, like, only that week, because I never really watched a lot of stuff with him in it before or after that. I really like the actors who they got to play the gods in these movies.
They always get really good actors for the gods.
They're great at that. Like, Stanley Tucci as Dionysus is an amazing casting choice.
Yep.
Like, in the beginning, his wine turns into water.
Yeah.
And he says, the Christians had a guy who could do this in reverse. Now that's the guy. I'm just like, Stanley Tucci, you were made to play this role. And then also one of my favorite scenes is with Nathan Fillion as a Hermes. Okay. Because he has... The thing he has like 2 snakes on it. But the snakes are played by Octavia Spencer and Craig Robinson. And I was like, I would much rather just follow him. Yeah, they are.
I never knew that.
Yeah, I couldn't place it at first, and I was like, they sound super familiar. I had to look it up. But yeah, I honestly just want to follow Nathan Fillion hanging out with Octavia Spencer and Craig Robinson.
Right? That sounds amazing.
It does. But yeah, this movie's fine. It's like if you're not going to bring Rosario back as Persephone, then what's the point? That's my thoughts on the movie. Bring Rosario
Right.
back.
Yeah, that was the one where they tried to like course correct and tried to make it more like the book series and brought in like the ancient prophecy and Chronos and all that.
Yeah.
They tried. That was the only reason like I kind of liked that movie. I was like, "Oh, you guys tried to fix it," but like it was too late.
Well, these things happen. Gabby,
Yes.
your
It's your
turn.
turn.
It's my turn.
You always seem so surprised.
I'm so
You
sorry.
always go after Dallas, Gabby.
Like we're not
I
changing the
know.
order.
I know, but I didn't know that. I didn't realize you were done. So
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, I'm excited. My next movie is called Sunlit Night, and it stars Jenny Slate. And it has appearances by Zach Galifianakis and Gillian Anderson. So Sunlit Night is about a woman. She's an artist and she's in grad school, and she gets some really kind of negative notes on her art. They're like, "Oh, this is very impersonal. I'm not getting any feeling out of this." And she's just like, "Oh, great, fantastic." And you find out that her parents are kind of failed artists. Like they didn't have success in like what you traditionally think of as artists, like with galleries and selling paintings and stuff. Like her father is a illustrator for medical textbooks, and her mother designs patterns for upholstery and furniture. But they both studied to be artists. And so she's kind of like going down that same vein, right? Where she wants to be an artist, but it's looking like she's not going to have the kind of career in art that she wants. And so it's summertime and she has to take an internship somewhere. And she was going to have an internship in Tokyo, but that falls through because of like the negative notes that she gets. And then they offer her an internship in Norway, and it's like super, super north Norway in the summer, with this artist that he's kind of so secluded that people thought he had died and she thought he had died. And they're like, no, 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 he's just like living in super north Norway now. So she gets out there and it's literally all she does all summer is paint this barn yellow. I mean, there's a specific pattern to it, and it's like because she's not the artist, she's just the assistant. He's already kind of like mapped out the way he wants it painted. So it's about her. She's just like basically alone in Norway, and it's summer and it's super north, which means the sun does not set. There's light 24/7 during this
Oh
part of the
yeah,
year,
I've heard of that.
which is yeah, which is why it's called the sunlit night.
I get it.
Because yeah, she's coming to terms with she might not be good at this career that she likes, and it's kind of like an awkward person, which is like the perfect, I feel like, role for Jenny Slate. When she does like more indie films, she's usually plays a character that's kind of like on this path in their life that they're not 100% sure that they're going the right way, and they kind of tend to play a person whose life's a bit chaotic, and they're kind of like a passive person in their own life. And I was really looking forward to seeing this movie, which was filmed like more than 2 years ago. And I've been waiting for it to come out because Jenny Slate like documented her time there. And she would like during filming the movie, and you could tell she was on some sort of like spiritual journey while she was there because of the way that she documented it on her Instagram. I mean, and this sounds very like millennial, like she was documenting, but like she did. She'd take a photo and then like put this like long ish for her anyway caption where she would talk about like where she was and she was doing, and it just seemed like she was having an experience. So I wanted to see the movie that was affecting this experience and causing her to just like feel the need to project how she was feeling.
That makes sense.
So that's why I was really looking forward to this movie. And then it officially came out like on video on demand like 2 weeks ago. I know it came out on like it premiered at Sundance in 2019. So I was like, who bought it? when is this coming out? I'm waiting. And it's finally out and I paid for it. It was only like $4. It was great. And it was really nice. It was like a very much an indie movie, but it was really good. Zach Galifianakis had some pretty funny moments. You see this character kind of grow over the course of this summer.
Nice.
All right, so I guess it's my turn. And here I'm going to give you guys a lesson on how to do a 4-for-1. I watched Batman, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, and Batman and Robin.
Oh, God.
These are the 1989 and 90s era Batman movies, directed by Tim Burton and Joel Schumacher, starring Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, and George Clooney, all as Batman, with Michael Gough as Alfred. So I'm going to basically give a synopsis for each of these movies and then just give my very quick reaction to all of them. So first up, Batman. The Dark Knight of Gotham City begins his war on crime with his first major enemy being Jack Napier, a criminal who becomes the clownishly homicidal Joker. Jack Nicholson stars as the Joker and Kim Basinger is Vicky Vale. Vicky Vale. Vicky Vale.
Oh, damn, Timmy. Okay.
Chuck, thank you. Batman Returns. Batman returns to the big screen when a deformed man calling himself the Penguin wreaks havoc across Gotham with the help of a cruel businessman. Danny DeVito stars as the Penguin. Michelle Pfeiffer is the iconic Catwoman, and Christopher Walken is Max Schreck. Batman Forever. Batman must battle former District Attorney Harvey Dent, who is now Two-Face, and Edward Nygma, the Riddler, with help from an amorous psychologist and a young circus acrobat who becomes his sidekick Robin. Tommy Lee Jones is Two-Face, Jim Carrey is the Riddler, Chris O'Donnell is Dick Grayson, aka Robin, and Nicole Kidman plays the ever so thirsty Dr. Chase Meridian. And then we have Batman and Robin. Batman and Robin try to keep their relationship together even as they must stop Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy from freezing Gotham City. Arnold Schwarzenegger stars as Mr. Freeze, Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy, and Alicia Silverstone as Barbara Wilson, aka Batgirl. So basically, I watched all 4 of these movies back to back one day, and I didn't want to do them separately because that would make this even longer.
Sounds like an experience.
Yeah.
Oh, it was an experience. It was basically like slowly watching the series dissolve movie by movie.
I was going to say, you're just watching it get worse and worse.
No.
That's literally what happened. It just got worse with every movie.
Oh,
but
man.
like the first 2 movies with Michael Keaton that were directed by Tim Burton are fantastic. They are great. I love them. I think they're really great Batman movies. I don't think I had ever seen them before. Tim Burton's gothic vibe really fits for Gotham. I mean, yeah, the gothic Gotham. Haha.
Haha.
Haha. But like, yeah, there's iconic performances in both of those movies, from Michael Keaton as Batman to Danny DeVito as the Penguin to, I mean, Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman is still the standard that we're living with in Batman movies. When I was watching Batman Returns and I was watching Keaton and Michelle Pfeiffer act against each other, the entire time I was just like, oh my gosh, I hope that Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz have this chemistry.
I knew you were going to say that.
Like, I really want it because they're so, like, oh my gosh, Michael Keaton and Michelle Pfeiffer are so good together in that movie. They're so good. It's just the right amount of dark and camp in Tim Burton's movies.
Right.
Okay.
And like, it's really engaging and the stories are really fun and they feel like comic book movies. They feel like these just came out of a comic. You know, Batman suddenly just floats down from the heavens with a cape outstretched looking like a bat. Like, it's really cool. And, you know, they're really well written, in my opinion. These were really good. I ended up making a Batman live action movie ranking after I watched all 4 of these. It is. I'll send it to you later.
Nice. I'll check that out.
And then Batman Forever I thought was decent. This one is the one with Val Kilmer. And Tim Burton is no longer directing. Schumacher directed it. But Tim Burton at least was producing this one.
Okay.
And the exploration of Bruce's psyche is like intriguing to me. And I think the movie's really fun, but it's just not as good as the first 2.
Right.
Okay.
Like, Gotham has a completely different aesthetic now. It looks completely different. Now we're doing like a bunch of neon lights and color. It's super colorful and all that. And I'm like, that's a really cool aesthetic. And it kind of works for Gotham. It's just not the same Gotham as the first 2 movies.
Right.
Because you also now have a new Batman. And you have a different Two-Face. There's definitely a missed opportunity here of having Billy D. Williams come back and play Two-Face.
Yeah, I thought that was weird that he played Harvey Dent, but then didn't play Two-Face.
Tommy Lee Jones and Billy D. Williams are playing the same characters. And like, it just feels like this is the start of a different series of Batman movies, but it's not. It's the same continuity.
They just replaced everybody.
Yeah, so it feels kind of weird. Kilmer, I think, is not a bad Batman. He's just a forgotten Batman.
Fair.
He's not bad, but he's not great either.
Yeah, no one ever calls him the worst, but no one calls him the best.
Yeah, like he does the job and he does it well. And I think if he had gotten to do more Batman movies, or if he had wanted to do more, I can't remember which one it was, he would have been really good if they had given him a good storyline. Because unfortunately, with Batman and Robin, it doesn't matter who would have been cast as Batman; it just would have been bad.
That movie's so trash.
Before I move on to Batman and Robin, Chase Meridian, played by Nicole Kidman. This woman was really trying to throw it at Batman at every turn. It did not matter. She was throwing it at him left and right.
To me, I have
even
a question.
If Bruce was nearby. Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to Gabby, how thirsty is she?
She's beyond.
Stop it!
That's
my scale.
Oh my gosh. Chase Meridian. I was like, girl, if you don't calm down, you're supposed to be a psychiatrist. Like, people supposed to, what are you? You just out here openly thirsting. Like, you have a job to do. Bruce Wayne is supposedly your boyfriend, and you out here just like, but Batman. Okay, calm down, dang.
Goodness gracious.
She was around Gotham. I want you to see this movie just so you can see Chase Meridian be thirsty for 2 hours.
Goodness gracious.
But Batman and Robin. Sorry. No, continue. What were you saying?
It's like he already sits next to me in movies.
That's what it's like, Dallas. That's what Chase Meridian is like.
I want Gabby to watch it so she can like have an outside looking into she's
God.
like.
All of these are on HBO Max. I watched all of them on it. Oh, I think they're still on HBO Max. I don't know. I think they were all leaving pretty soon.
Yeah, they've been
so you'd have to
dropping
double
stuff.
check. Yeah. But I watched all of them on HBO Max, just back to back. And then we have Batman and Robin.
Do we have to talk about that one?
No, here's the thing. Batman and Robin had me questioning what happened within the first 15 minutes of watching it, because everyone's acting and the writing was just so ridiculous and bad. Like, I was like 15 minutes in and I was like, I know George Clooney is a better actor than this.
Yeah.
Chris O'Donnell was doing a pretty good job at being Dick Grayson in the last movie. So what just happened between that and this? It just got so ridiculous. And I like Joel Schumacher because he made Phantom of the Opera, which is a movie that I can watch over and over and over again.
Right.
I feel like this movie would be a more fun movie to me if I had not watched the first 3 before it.
Fair.
Because I think I remember watching it as a kid.
Yeah.
And I think as a kid, I liked it.
Yep.
But probably because it's ridiculous and bright colors and Robin's hot. Like,
yeah.
I feel like when you're a kid, it's like, it's you know, colorful Batman.
Also, like
Poison Ivy,
the Iceman with the hockey guys, that was fun when we were kids.
This movie is not fun anymore.
Not
I mean, it might be if like I said, if I hadn't watched the first 3 before I watched that one. Like, but even Chris O'Donnell, who played Robin, he like even admitted that Schumacher would tell the actors like right before a take, they'd be like, all right, remember, we're trying to sell toys.
Oh.
That's just like, come on, bro. Why are you making a live action movie to sell toys? Like, go make a cartoon.
Yeah.
I think he wanted to make a legit darker Batman movie, and the studio wanted something that would sell merchandise to kids. They wanted something that would be more approachable for children, because they definitely can't watch the 89 and 90s. Like, they can't watch those. I mean, they can watch those first 3, but it's probably not appropriate.
No, which is so weird because this is right after their amazing show that they were putting out, like their cartoon show, an actual cartoon for kids that everyone loved. And they're like, let's just make the worst live action movie we can make following that.
Yeah. And I think there were like plans to make other Batman movies after this. And then like, because this one just did so horribly, I think they had to like scrap all of the plans that they had or something like that. And the plans that they had, I read, were pretty interesting. And I think we didn't get another Batman movie until Batman Begins in 2005.
Which was good.
Yeah,
it was fantastic.
Amazing.
But yeah, those are that's that era of Batman movies. I now have a ranking of all of my favorite Batman. Well, the live action ones at least.
Right.
Can you tell us?
Can I?
You can.
I can. My first one is Ben Affleck, even though his Batman films are not at the top of my list for Batman movies.
Fair.
Because I feel like he was pretty comic accurate despite him killing people. My second favorite is Michael Keaton. Third is Christian Bale. Fourth is Val Kilmer. And 5 is George Clooney. Not because I don't think George Clooney could have done a good job, but just because
They played him.
Yeah, that movie.
Yeah, he
had
didn't
no
have a chance.
chance.
He didn't have a chance.
Robert Pattinson is currently pending, awaiting The Batman, which I'm super excited about. And who knows? He might just top my list. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
Dallas, it's your turn.
It is my turn. Kind of on theme with what you said, a little bit of what you said. This one is an overly hated movie that, in theory, should have been pretty fire because that's a great cast and some interesting source material.
You know what? That's way too much. That's too. It's too big.
It is Green Lantern.
Ah.
Green Lantern with Ryan Reynolds. It's directed by Martin Campbell, the guy who made GoldenEye, The Mask of Zorro, and Casino Royale. It was written by Greg Berlanti, Mark Guggenheim, and Michael Green.
I've never seen that one.
Don't.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
I haven't.
I saw it like for the first time. Yeah, it was written by Berlanti, Guggenheim, and Michael Green. Berlanti is the guy Demi does like from the DCCW shows. He created Arrow. You don't like Berlanti?
I don't really have an opinion on Berlanti. I think he puts out good work, though.
Okay, fair.
He produces a lot of stuff that I really like. Like, I think he's a producer on Prodigal Son as well.
Yeah, he also created You. That's what everybody's talking about.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't seen it. And then, we covered Mark Guggenheim extensively in the last one. And then Michael Green created the show American Gods, and he wrote Logan, Blade Runner 2049, and The Call of the Wild.
Oh, wow.
The new one. Yeah, it's a very varied group of people. So they wrote a movie, and then rewrites were done by a guy named Michael Goldenberg, who wrote the 2003 Peter Pan, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, and Artemis Fowl, the new one, the only one, the one that came out like
the only one.
Yeah,
the one that took forever to come out.
Yeah, that one. Stars Ryan Reynolds, my boy, Blake Lively, Peter Sarsgaard, Mark Strong, and Angela Bassett. Which is why I say that, like, on paper, this movie should have been pretty fire because the cast is great. Green Lantern is an interesting enough character. They have some interesting source material they could go with. They just didn't hit the mark. The movie's not as bad as everybody makes it out to be honest. It's not like Batman and Robin bad. It's just not great.
It's kind of bland.
A little bit. It's like blander than a Green Lantern movie should be. For anyone who doesn't know, summary: reckless test pilot Hal Jordan is granted an alien ring that bestows him with otherworldly powers that inducts him into an intergalactic police force, the Green Lantern Corps. The movie has its moments. Ryan Reynolds is always charming, to me at least. Angela Bassett is Amanda Waller, and that's like perfect casting. It's like up there with Stanley Tucci as Dionysus level casting.
Yeah.
And I'm disappointed that this movie did so poorly because I never knew that Angela Bassett played Amanda Waller before, because this movie came out and everybody was like, it sucks. And then nobody ever talks about her in this role. That being said, the criticisms aren't all unwarranted because they didn't really do justice to the villain. Parallax was just kind of a yellow cloud. But it's like you have Mark Strong as Sinestro right there. You could have had a great villain. Mark Strong is like one of the best villain actors in the game. But I imagine what they were trying to do is let that be a slow burn. And then in the sequel that they never got, Mark Strong would have taken over as the main antagonist. So like I admire the attempt to let that build up. Didn't work out because we got the yellow cloud. But I feel like honestly waiting this long to see it kind of benefited me because I had heard so much that it was so bad that my expectations were under the
Your
ground.
expectations were low.
Exactly. So when I saw it and it wasn't Batman and Robin, I was like, oh, okay, that wasn't too bad. Also, Taika Waititi's in this movie.
What?
Yeah.
I remember that, yeah. I heard about that.
He's Hal Jordan's friend. I don't remember his name. He's not in it very much. But yeah, he's a funny dude.
Yeah, because they made a joke about it on one of their...
Yeah, they're talking about a Free Guy.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and they were like talking, and Ryan and Taika were like, it's just so great to finally work with Taika, man. Like, to just, be in the same room with one another for the first time. It's great. And the people doing the interview with him was like, you guys worked together before, didn't you? And they're like, what are you talking about? And they're like, Green Lantern, right? And they're like, no, I don't know what that is. I don't know what you're referring to. He's like, are you thinking of Green Hornet with Seth Rogen?
He's like, I don't remember that.
Yeah, it's like that never happened. But yeah, that's Green Lantern. Moving on to Gabby. It is your turn because you're after me.
Yeah. Oh, brief Green Lantern story. So I went to see that with like a boyfriend. He wasn't a very good or nice boyfriend, but I went to go see it with him and he really liked it because he had terrible taste in movies. He really...
Oh, fun.
So I had to pretend like it was a good movie, even though as I was watching it, I was like, this is not a good movie. This is kind of trash. This isn't. And he was like so excited about it. He had like a Green Lantern ring. And I was like, in my head, I was like, how are you a Green Lantern fan, but like you like this movie? Like in my head, I wanted to call him like a fake geek boy. Like, you know how like women get accused of being fake geek girls? Like, I wanted to do that to that guy because I was like, how do you? This is not a good movie. Anyway.
All right, that's a nice little story.
I just had to pretend like, oh yeah, it was a waste of my money is all I kept thinking. Anyway, okay, so my last movie, because I haven't seen that many movies recently, is Palm Springs with
I like
starring
that
Andy
one.
Samberg. Oh my god, it's so good.
What is that one even about?
Oh my god. Okay, let me tell you. Oh, it's so good. Okay, so it is a time loop movie. It's basically Groundhog Day.
Time loop. Sorry.
Yeah. It's so good. Okay, so it's basically about Andy Samberg's character, whose name
Niles.
is Niles, I believe. Yeah. Niles is stuck waking up at these strangers' wedding. He's like not related to anybody at this wedding, and it's a wedding in Palm Springs, and he wakes up at this wedding every single morning. And one of the nights he's like seducing the sister of the bride, the maid of honor, and he gets shot in the shoulder and by this other character, Roy.
Yes.
Who you only know Roy's name at this point. And he runs off into this cave, and the maid of honor follows him into the cave. And there's this glowing amber light on the inside of the cave. And basically, if you get sucked into that cave, into that light, you are now sucked into the time loop. And what I love about it is it's a bunch of genres smashed together. You've got sci-fi with a time loop. You've got a romantic comedy in there. It's more of a romantic dramedy. And what was the third one? There's like a third kind of twist type of movie in there, but I can't remember right now. And what I love about it is like Andy Samberg as a romantic lead. Oh
he was great.
God.
He
was so good. I want to see him in more. Well, one, I want to see more and more dramas because he did the drama stuff really well. And I want to see him as a romantic lead more often. Like, this show made me want to go back and like just consume a bunch of like Andy Samberg's, and the best way to do that is watch Brooklyn Nine. He was so good in it. Oh, and then fun fact about this movie. It premiered at the Sundance Film Festival, and it was purchased, like the largest purchase ever for a movie. It was like the biggest movie deal. And at first it was tied with another movie for like the most money spent on a movie through Sundance. And then because it's The Lonely Island, they were like, oh, we should just ask them to pay like 1 cent more so that we could have the most. And it's like, we're the most by like 1 cent. And then another one of the Lonely Island people, I think it was Akiva, was like, we should do 69 cents. And they,
oh God.
And they did. So they're like the highest paid movie ever in the history of the Sundance Film Festival by 69 cents.
That sounds like them.
It does. I love it so much. So I highly recommend Palm Springs. It's so good. While I haven't seen Groundhog Day, I feel like we've had time loop movies before probably, but this one's a fresh take, I think, on that genre. I mean, you've seen a time loop movie before. This one really goes into like character and philosophies like nihilism and like just it's deeper than it appears on its surface. And that's also why I really like the movie. Is like you could probably take away something different every time you watch it.
Yeah, it's really fun. I like that we're at a point now when time loop movies are common enough that like the way he explains it is like, it's one of those infinite time loop situations you may have heard about.
Yes.
And she's like, that I may have heard about? What are you talking about?
Yeah, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. actually just did a time loop episode, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But yeah, like time loop stuff is just so much fun.
Time loops are popping.
Yeah.
Also,
And
I want to
this one-
clarify that
Yeah.
he's not a stranger to everyone. His girlfriend knows the bride. That's why he's there.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
But
so it's not like
it's
he's randomly at a wedding that he
Yeah.
doesn't belong to.
Wedding
He was
crashing.
invited. Yeah, he's not crashing the wedding.
Yeah. But like nobody knows who his is. He'll like walk in a room, talk to people, and they'll be like, "Who is he?" And
Yeah.
everybody goes, "Oh, that's Misty's boyfriend."
Yeah, he's like, I missed his boyfriend.
Oh, it's so
Gabby, are we going to
good.
leave Roy as a surprise for who plays him?
Oh,
Yes, you should.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's part of the what's great about Roy.
Yeah. So if you're going to watch it and you want Roy to be a surprise, don't watch the trailer. Just go in blind and just know he's great.
Yeah. Really good. Such a good movie. I highly, highly, highly recommend it.
All right, so my next film is a movie that Dallas has talked about a lot to us and has mentioned on the podcast before. It's Fighting with My Family. I finally watched it. Oh my god.
I'm so excited. I watched it during quarantine too.
I watched it during quarantine because you mentioned it and I was like, oh, there's a place to watch it.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah, it follows the career of English professional wrestler Paige as she trains and makes her way up the WWE while her brother Zach Zodiac struggles with his failure to achieve similar success. It's directed by Stephen Merchant, which actually shocked the heck out of me, starring Florence Pugh, Vince Vaughn, Lena Headey, Nick Frost, Jack Lowden, and featuring Dwayne The Rock Johnson as himself, who also
Yes.
produced the film.
Very nice.
So good.
It's a very good movie. I really
love it.
enjoyed it. I've like never had any interest in wrestling, but like I found the movie really interesting. I was really invested in following Paige's journey. I don't know. I have this thing where like I don't particularly like watching actual sports, but if you throw a sports movie at me, I'll watch it and I'm probably going to like it.
That's how I am with most sports. The only sport I actually like to watch is football, but like I'll watch a movie about basketball, boxing,
Yeah.
hockey.
It's the
Same.
narrative of it all, man.
Yeah. Also, I'm glad that you brought this up because I saw the movie and I loved it, but like I grew up loving wrestling. I was super into it. And I was like, if I didn't like wrestling as much as I did growing up, would I still like this movie? So I'm glad that I have a perspective from someone who didn't watch it, but I
You have a point of reference.
Yeah, exactly.
The only thing that I knew about wrestling was The Rock, and
The
I
Rock.
thought The Rock was cool.
Yeah.
Like I could reference, do you smell what The Rock is cooking? Like I knew that, but like
Yeah.
anything else about wrestling, I couldn't have told you anything. But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. And yeah, like I said, was really surprised to find out that Stephen Merchant was the one who directed this. If you've ever seen Jojo Rabbit, he is one of the weird Gestapo guys that comes to Jojo's
Yeah.
house.
Yeah,
He's in
he's also in Logan. He's Caliban.
Yeah, and he cameos in this movie as well.
He does. It's very funny.
And he's just a super funny guy. I didn't know that he directed, but to know that he directed this film in particular, I was like, that's so weird. But
He did a
like,
great job.
good job.
I just find it really surprising the people that are into wrestling because it's never who I think it's going to be. Like, apparently Michael Che and Colin Jost from SNL, the Weekend Update guys, they love WWE to the point where they made an appearance on like one of the SmackDowns in the ring. Like they weren't like commentators. They were like
dope.
in the ring.
Oh no, Colin Jost, you got Scarlett Johansson out here watching wrestling?
Punchable face, man. So I'm frequently like surprised by who likes wrestling. Finding out Stephen Merchant directed that, it's like peak. Like this dude likes wrestling.
But yeah, Florence Pugh continues to prove that she's incredible and has great range. I cannot. Every movie I see with her, it just gets me more excited to see her play Yelena Belova because Yelena is my second favorite Black Widow. I'm super hyped to see her play this role, and it looks like she's going to get to continue playing this role in the MCU if rumors and interviews are anything to go by. I still want a Thunderbolts movie, and I would like her to be in it. The movie is super funny at times, mega funny. And it's also very heartbreaking at moments, but it's also very heartwarming sometimes. I would say that this movie is a feel-good movie.
Yeah, definitely at times. It's like a super feel-good movie. But then, like you said, it has its moments where it's like, oh, man, I am hurting for these people.
Yeah, but like I feel like overall, even with all those heartbreaking moments, like because of the way the narrative goes, it's still a heartwarming, like it's a heartfelt, good time, good feeling movie. Like you feel good when you finish watching it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like by the time you finished, you just feel great. And it's also like it has more than expected. Like it has some expectation subversions. Like when she goes to try out and then you see like, the typical blonde, hot, busty type chicks. And then, like in a lot of movies, they would be like the mean popular girls. But then
Oh
she
yeah, but they're
actually,
not.
yeah, like she finds out more about them. And it's just like, oh yeah, maybe Paige was the one who was judging people offhand when she should have got to know them because they're trying
Which
to
is
be nice to
funny.
her.
I actually know, or I don't know her. Know her. I worked with her. I worked with one of the blonde girls
Oh, right. I
on a
remember you
short
saying that.
film.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I just was on there for as a PA, and she was the lead on a short film that I was working on. So I've been following her on Instagram ever since. So I've known for a while that she was in the film. I just had never seen it, but it was really cool getting to see her in like a big feature film.
Gabby,
Yeah.
have you seen this movie?
No.
You
But I want
should.
to.
I think you would like it.
It's on Amazon Prime.
Ah.
Also, there are a lot of shots with Florence Pugh's thighs.
I say it one. You say like one offhand comment.
I wouldn't say once.
About.
Like you said it, and then you said it more and more aggressively as you kept saying.
It was the way that you emphasized it.
Yeah. But yes, Florence Pugh's thighs are on display in this movie for Gabby and those like Gabby.
Don't tell Florence Pugh that we were talking about it though, even though we were complimenting her, because she doesn't like it when people talk about her thighs.
Well, no, because the guy who talked about it was like comparing her to the person that she's playing and was saying that, like, oh, she has
The
big
guy who did
thighs.
it was a douchebag.
Yeah, exactly. We love Florence Pugh
Look,
and
like
her
I
thighs.
said, if I ever start getting like work as an actress, we're deleting that shit.
Dallas, what's your final movie? Because
My
we've been
final
going longer
movie.
than anticipated.
Yes. This one is an example of how DC's animated stuff is better as a whole than their live action stuff. None of you are going to guess it. So I'm
Is
just
it
going to
the
say, what is it?
No, I know that you just watched one, and now it's whatever one you was it the one that you posted about Batman and Superman?
No, that's farther down the list in the future episode. I've been watching a bunch of these.
Oh my gosh.
This one is called Green Lantern First Flight.
Oh.
Yes. So it's Green Lantern, but it's animated and better. It was directed by Lauren Montgomery, who I told you about earlier because she directed that Justice League movie. And it was written by Alan Burnett, who, according to Wikipedia, has had a hand in virtually every DC animated project since like the Super Friends in the 70s. He's also one of the creators of Batman Beyond. So apparently he's one of my heroes, and I didn't know. And also Michael Allen helped write it. Couldn't find any info on him. Sorry, Michael Allen. It stars Christopher Maloney from Law & Order SVU, Victor Garber, Tricia Helfer, and Kurtwood Smith, a.k.a. Red Foreman from That 70s Show. Yes, summary is pretty much the same as Green Lantern. Test pilot Hal Jordan finds himself recruited as the newest member of the intergalactic police force, the Green Lantern Corps. Whenever I'm watching a DC animated movie, I just, I see cartoon superheroes, I think kid-friendly. Then I forget, like, these movies are not kid-friendly just because they're animated. Like, this movie kind of starts out like Training Day, but in space.
Oh wow.
Because Hal Jordan, played by Christopher Maloney, is like basically a rookie cop, but in space. And Sinestro is like Denzel Washington in Training Day. So he's showing him the ropes, but he's going around being a dirty cop, abusing his power. And Hal Jordan is like, hey, man, should we be doing that?
It's a sure way to get killed.
Sinestro is like, King Kong ain't got shit on me, basically. But it's a fun movie. I don't like, it's interesting to me that Christopher Maloney is always playing a cop because he's Elliot Staber in Law & Order SVU. And he plays, what's his name? Commissioner Gordon in the Harley Quinn show on DC Universe.
Oh wow.
Which is like, it's
now
range.
on HBO Max.
Yeah, it's like range, but not range because Stabler is like a good cop. He's a little rough, but he's like about his action. And then Commissioner Gordon on the Harley Quinn show is just a train wreck of a person. He's always drunk and just like trying to hang out with Batman, and Batman is like, we're not friends like that. I'm just here to help you. And he's like, hey, if you're not busy, maybe we can hang out later. And Batman's like, nah, I'm done. But Maloney's a good actor. He plays Hal Jordan. He plays him well because he's used to playing a cop. I liked a lot of the like Training Day and space stuff. After that, it just kind of got less memorable, I guess. But it's pretty good. Better than the live action.
The animated movies usually are, from what I hear.
That's their pattern. To me, it's your turn.
It is my turn because Gabby only has 4. So that's fine because she's going to end up talking with me on this next one because the last movie on my list is When Harry Met Sally.
Oh boy.
Harry and Sally have known each other for years and are very good friends, but they fear sex would ruin their relationship or the friendship. That's like a very, very, very generic, basic plot for this movie. Directed by Rob Reiner and starring Billy Crystal, Meg Ryan, Carrie Fisher, my queen, my love, Space Mom, Bruno Kirby, and Stephen Ford. I watched it because Gabby has it on our fan cast list, and eventually one day we'll do it. She might have to enforce that we do it, but one day we'll do it.
Yeah, it's not going to win any Twitter posts.
Yeah, Gabby, you just got to be like, we got to do a rom-com and just call it a day.
Okay. I might just have to do that.
You're going to have to. It's going to be the same as when we did Pride and Prejudice. You're just going to have to tell us to do it, and we're just going to have to do it.
All right.
But I watched it because, there was a possibility we might be able to do a fan cast for it recently, and I wanted to make sure I knew what this movie was about. I wanted to know the characters. I wanted to make sure my research was good, and I wanted to make sure that I had a good fan cast going for it. I take pride in my fan casts. And I really enjoyed the film. It's about an hour and a half. It's not particularly long. It's full of dialogue. It's very dialogue heavy, but it's really well written dialogue and it's really well delivered as well. I loved the way that the film is framed. So I love that we meet them when they're going on a trip leaving college. And then we just, every so often you get a 5 years later. 5 years later. And we're just kind of meeting them at different points in their life where their relationship, where they just kind of keep running into each other. And then we get to follow as their relationship sort of develops in that way. I thought that was very interesting. So I like the time jumps. I like that framing. Some of the ideologies of the film, obviously, because it was like made in how old is the movie? Like the 80s, the 90s?
It was made in 89, or it came out in 89.
So end of the 80s, about to go into the 90s. So like some of the ideologies and themes are a little outdated, like the idea of men and women. I mean, I guess that's still a question that we ask today. Can men and women be friends without any sort of like sexual relationship coming into play? But like, I think based
Also,
off of this podcast, we can affirm that yes, it can.
That's true. We are evidence of that.
Dallas.
Gabby.
Me and Dallas don't have that relationship, so we're fine.
Yeah, exactly. We have at least one example.
Me and Dallas,
true.
me and Colin, you and Colin.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Like
boom.
We affirm that idea is not true.
That's true. I would like to say though that Harry is the one that believes that they can't be friends, and Sally.
Yes, he's the one who believes that, and she thinks that it's ridiculous. However, though, when you're watching the movie, like when you have a theme like that, where it's like it's either one way or it's the other, the movie has to agree with either one side or give you both sides are true.
But I feel like that's what the movie did. It gave you that both sides are true, right? Because they were really, because they were best friends.
They were, and then they had sex.
Yeah.
So it's still, so he was right in their friendship.
I don't know.
He's right within their friendship, which is why I'm like, it's kind of an outdated ideology to try and talk about, but it still works. Like the movie is still great, regardless.
Yeah.
Still a good movie. I liked that the cast of characters was very small, very focused on these on mainly these two characters, and then a couple of people outside of them that are connected to them.
Yeah. But it's really like I would hesitate calling like I know Carrie Fisher's in this, but it's like she's not really in it. Like
she becomes more in it because at first I thought they were going to do to her what they did to her boyfriend at the beginning of the movie that we meet at the airport. I thought Carrie Fisher was going to end up like that, where she's in one scene and then she disappears, and I was like, wait, she's like third build on this movie. How dare you do that to Princess Leia? But she comes in more and more as the movie goes along. And
yeah, but like
they're secondary characters, but they're they're still decently important because they also help shape the way that Harry and Sally think.
A little bit, but
like if you don't have those characters, like there are certain things that wouldn't happen.
That's true, but 95% of this movie is Harry and Sally.
It is, but the point is, I like that it is them and a small selection of people around them.
Yeah.
We don't have to meet a bunch of different characters. You don't have to remember a bunch of different characters. It's these 5 people that you have to remember. And even then, you really only need to remember these 2 right here.
Yeah.
And you're not going to forget them because they're in every frame of the film.
Oh, they are. It's amazing. It's so good. So I read the script for this movie before I actually saw it because our high school teacher, Mr. Van Leuven, contributed a little bit to the script, and all of the scripts that he like helped ghostwrite or influence, he had a copy of in his classroom.
As he should.
Yeah, so cool.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah. So I grabbed When Harry Met Sally off the shelf one day and I sat in a corner and I read it and I was like, this movie's amazing. Yeah. So then I was like, I should watch it. And what was weird about that though is like I imagined the movie one way and then when I watched it, it was like completely different, which I thought was interesting.
Wait until we do this fan cast, homie.
Right.
Speaking of, watching it and seeing things of it in class, I had never seen the movie, but the first time I saw any bit of it, I saw the fake orgasm scene in one of my film classes.
I love that scene.
Man, sometimes I could not get past the fact that like it was Anastasia. Like I would look at Meg Ryan and I'd be like, it's Anastasia. You're speaking and it's just Anastasia. Anastasia is saying these things. And I couldn't get past it.
So like you're picturing Anastasia faking an orgasm.
I wasn't picturing it, but I was hearing it. I was
Got it.
definitely hearing it. The last thing I want to mention about the movie, there is a phone call / split screen scene in this movie, and it is masterful. It is my favorite part of the movie because it is so perfectly timed and it's composed so well with this split screen. It's great. It's great.
Yes.
And it's so the comedic timing is brilliant. It's perfect.
Yes. Such a good movie.
Props to them. Carrie Fisher, I miss you. But that's the last movie on my list, which means that's the last movie of this podcast.
Woo.
Until next time.
We got to another ending of the podcast.
We did indeed.
Yes, audience, it's been a wild one. Thank you for listening. Let us know in the comments what movies you've been watching during quarantine. Do they have time loops? Do they have wrestling? Do they have space?
Do they have Carrie Fisher?
Do they have Carrie Fisher in space?
I know, that's a good
Star
one.
Wars. Thank you, Crown Digital, Brandon and Aya for putting us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thank you to me for editing, putting us on YouTube, and letting me talk about Finding with My Family because I don't get to talk about that movie enough.
I got you.
I appreciate you. Thank you, Gabby, for bringing up Palm Springs. That movie's so much fun.
Oh, it's so good. Andy Samberg. Oh, I love him.
Audience, if you want to talk to us about superheroes, time loops, why the kissing booth is so freaking long, you can find us on the medias or on Twitter at y'all_different. We're on Instagram and Tumblr at Creative Differences Podcast, and we're on Facebook. Just search for it. If you want to talk to me about DC movies, preferably the animated ones, because those are the good ones, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at a king named Simba.
You can find me, Gabby, on Instagram at Stegosaurus.
And you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Dreamy Films. Dreamy is spelled DREEMI. Thanks again for joining us.
And you can find Colin on Twitter at Half Black Power.
A choice. It's been different.
It's been different.
Bye.